Go ahead.
Just wanted to give an introduction first, Pop. Let people know that this is being recorded on the 26th of June, 1983, here in Annandale, Virginia. And I'm Bill Ratliff, and I'm going to be interviewing you. And Ivis Welch is on the camera here. The reunion is next weekend, so that's why y'all are up here. And we wanted to get a recording of you and Mom and get some of your memories and all to for us to keep and cherish over the years. I'm glad you're willing to do this.
Becky once told one of her high school professors that she had an uncle in World War I. And of course he laughed her to scorn. But it was true. I started my life before the First World War, May the 6th, 1913. The Democrats had won one of the first elections that they had ever won, and so I had a hard time coming by my name. At home, no one seemed willing to name me. And at Christmas time, after I'd been born in May, our school teacher, to play a little joke on her boyfriend, who was named John Everett Toll, put a little sack of candy on the Christmas tree to J. Everett Tracy. And so I got the name Everett, the initial J. After my sisters had tried to name me several things like Fletcher and John and so on. But later on, when I got to be about 12 years old, my father said, "It's time you had a first name. You pick one out." And so I picked Jim, for my Uncle James Boblet, who had killed a bobcat with a stick. I thought he was quite a hero. So it got to be James Everett Tracy.
So you chose your own first name?
Yes. Then later on, I got ready to go to Cuba, and I learned that the name on my birth certificate was Woodrow. And no one would take claim for having named me that. My father had been dead by then, but I can see him smiling with that peculiar smile of his and saying, "Well, I guess we'll just have to name this one Woodrow," because Woodrow had just been elected President of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that's how I got my name. I had to have it legally changed then so that it would fit my driver's license and my credit cards and my Social Security. So for years I went with J. Everett Tracy, and then the war came along and they insisted that I use a middle initial and a front name. That was World War II. I think I was born in one of the most auspicious times that the world has ever had, because I've had the pleasure of walking behind a team of oxen, driving a fast pair of horses, driving a tractor, and riding in an airplane. And if they'd make it possible, I'd be glad to go on a shuttle.
It's been kind of a bridge, hasn't it, between the old...
Look what a tremendous, more advancement. And truly, I think more advancement in the last 20 years than in all the years before that. I don't know what you kids are up for, but it ought to be an interesting life there too. But you'll have missed a lot because you didn't see the old as it went by.
Tell me about your parents, Jim.
My father and mother were born in the same county in Illinois and never met each other until they got to Nebraska. My father came to Nebraska when he was 5 years old. My mother came when she was 3. Father was from a well-educated family. My grandfather was almost a doctor, almost a lawyer, almost a poet, and homesteaded in Nebraska back in the early days just after the Civil War. We had a family reunion in York County not too long ago, and they said that we were the only continuous name in York County history. And as far as I know, the 6th generation is growing up there in York County, Nebraska.
What kind of man was your father, Jim?
Father was a short man, bald-headed. The first remembrance of him I had, he had a black nose, cancer, and when he went away to St. Joseph, Missouri for a while, and when he came back he had a nose that grew hair on it. He always had to shave every Saturday. And, I guess that's the reason that all my life I've been so scared of cancer, and more scared to do anything about it if you got it than if you didn't, because I somehow feel that if he hadn't fooled around with cures for it, he probably would have still been all right. He was mechanically inclined. Threshing machines, tractors, new farming equipment as fast as International Harvester could figure it out. But unfortunately, he died in the 30s, in 1932, I believe.
Died of cancer?
I do not know. Mother was German girl. Dad was Irish English, little Dutch, and little Indian somewhere back there, because we always talked about having Indian for our forebears. Could trace one side of the family back to the Mayflower. Mother was the oldest of a family of 13 children. She quit school when she was in the 3rd grade. Took care of her brothers and sisters. And sold their dresses. Did the farm chores. That's how my father met her. He was selling farm medicines, and he pulled in there and she was slopping the hogs. He met her that way. He said, "That's the girl for me." All her life she lived within 3 miles of, after she had come to Nebraska, all her life she lived within 3 miles of where she grew up. She did cross the Ohio once to come live with me when I was in Ohio, and then came back across to where she died when she was about 87, I believe.
She died after your father died then?
Oh, yes. She died after my second marriage.
Tell me about your brothers and sisters.
Well, I have my older brother is 17 years older than I am. My younger brother is 15 years older than I am. Then I have a sister who's as old as the century, and one that is 4 years younger than she is, and one that is 4 years younger than she, and 5 years older than I.
3 sisters and 2 brothers.
3 sisters and 2 brothers. I have another brother that came in between the first and second girls, but he died when he was very young.
Are all the others still living now?
All the others are still living.
Out in that area?
I have 2 in Nebraska and 2 in Washington and 1 in Oregon.
What do you remember of life growing up with your brothers and sisters on the farm?
Not much. Not much. I was sent to school at the age of 4 because Mother didn't want my sister to walk that 3/4 of a mile through the woods to school all by herself. So I was sent to school to just eat her lunch. And I started off there, and consequently I was able to graduate from high school at the age of 16.
Did you enjoy school?
Very much. I started out in a 1-room schoolhouse, 8 grades in 1 room. And the interesting thing was to sit and watch young people ahead of you and learn what they said in answer to the questions that came up. And consequently, I was able to get through the first 8 grades without reading very much. I had an unfortunate experience in grade school. My sister was made the teacher my 8th year. We had a rule at home that if we got a whipping at school, we got a whipping at home. And seldom a day went by I didn't get a whipping at school, and then I got one at home. And because she thought that if she could make an example of me, the rest of the big boys would be good. And so came January, I had special incentive to take all of the examinations instead of just the part that were allotted to us. And as soon as I took them, I quit school. Because I figured that if I passed them, fine. If I didn't pass them, well, I'd have to go back to school the next year. But they couldn't do anything about it until after they found out whether I passed them or not. And I passed. But my 8th grade, I quit school in January and didn't go back until the next fall when I started into high school.
With another teacher.
With 4 more teachers.
4 more teachers.
With 4 more teachers.
How was high school then?
High school was, I was from the wrong side of the tracks to start with, being puny and little. Kids in town picked on me and run me out of town every night for a while, until I caught one of them alone. Then we didn't have any more trouble.
No more trouble.
No more trouble. As long as they caught me in a gang, they were all right. But I got one of them alone, and then there wasn't any more trouble, so they gave me the name Patrick Henry. Give me liberty or give me death.
Another name.
Another name.
Did you have to work a lot on the farm while you were going to school too?
Yes, my freshman year was pretty skimpy. In the wintertime, my brother-in-law died out in Washington State, and father and mother went out to help my sister gather up the loose ends, move her family back to Nebraska. And they left me there, of course, well taken care of. I had two brothers that lived just half and 3/4 of a mile from the home place, and my sister was supposed to be home every weekend looking after me, the sister that was teaching school. But I had the responsibility of the farm to get the oats ground plowed and milk the cattle, milk the cows night and morning, take care of the horses.
Wow.
And get the corn ground ready, and get the corn planted. And of course that happened to be the winter that the passes were all blocked until late in May. Folks didn't get back till almost the 1st of June.
So when did they leave?
They left in February.
5 months.
And that's why I never was afraid when the kids got to be 12 years old to let them have a little responsibility if they wanted it.
So if you didn't do it, it didn't get done.
If I didn't do it, it didn't get done. And,
You became an adult.
no, not really.
Didn't you? No.
Didn't become an adult till I got to be about 35 years old.
Okay.
And,
were you involved in many activities in high school, or did farm work keep you?
baseball was the only thing my father would allow me to play because he had been a semi-pro baseball player, and so he would allow me to play baseball. But as far as any other activities in school, no, except that I did belong to the debating team and was state parliamentarian for 2 years in the elocution team. Then I went to, I got ready to graduate from high school. I didn't have enough days I hadn't gone to school enough days to graduate. So I had to do a little law research, and found out that if you lived over 3 miles from school, that was okay if you could pass the courses. And I finally got a signed diploma from the high school. The next fall, my father sent me to Ag College. Went to Lincoln, Nebraska, about 60 miles away, stay with some other boys from York County, go to school down there. And I played on the basketball team.
Basketball?
I had played basketball my senior year in high school, but I had to sneak away to do that. Finally, Dad caught me at it, and he watched one game, and he got so thrilled by it that he went to all the games after that. Incidentally, my high school was, I learned something in high school. I learned that I had to read on my own because no one was there to tell me what the answers would be.
Yeah.
And furthermore than that, the first assignment that I took a book home, my father said, no, none of that. You go to school to learn, you come home to work. And if you can't get your school in school hours, then you'll just have to quit school. So I went back and I learned to take that 1 hour of study hall and divide it up into portions and study, and consequently ever since then I've been able to concentrate and shut everything else out. A couple of times that got me in pretty serious trouble in high school. One time the coach left the study hall, and when he came back I was the only one studying, so I was the one who had made all the ruckus. And he nearly took my head off with it.
Well, you learn to use your time well, too, that way.
Learn to get it.
Yeah. What was it like going to college then, being away from home? And
that seemed to be a snap. There was no trouble to that at all. All you had to do was read the assignments and go to class and listen to the lecture. answer a few questions.
Didn't have all that farm
Take
work
a
to
few
do.
tests. No farm work to
Yeah.
do. That part was hard. I got 3 jobs while I was doing that because I was so bored to hang around with the other fellows and not do anything.
Had any of your brothers or sisters gone to college, Jim, or were you the first?
No, I was not the first to go to college. All of them had gone. All the boys, both the boys had gone to ag college. My sister had gone to nursing school and teacher college, normal college. And but none of them have degrees except myself.
But education was important then in the family.
The education was important, yes.
Now, how long did you stay at ag college?
Just 1 term. Just 1 term.
And what did you do then?
Went back to the farm, went to work.
And what made you decide to just stay 1 term?
I really can't tell you that, Bill. It's vague. I know I was terribly homesick the last 2 weeks. And I was glad to get home. Glad to get back to my trap line and the things that I could do there. We had a blacksmith shop at home, and I was so proud of that blacksmith shop. I could make almost anything I wanted to down there. I sharpened plowshares for the neighbors.
So you missed all that when you were
I missed all that. Well, I guess that was the reason I got through ag school, or got good grades in ag school, was because my blacksmithing I had no trouble with. My woodworking I had no trouble with. My drafting I had no trouble with. My English was very good because I had a sister who was always nitpicking me.
You were in debating society too.
I was in debating society.
So how long did you stay back home then, Jim?
But that summer, I didn't want to farm. I knew that. That was another reason. I didn't want to farm. I wanted to be a Latin teacher. I wanted to teach Latin in high school. And so the next summer, I took my fur money and went down and made a deal with the dean of the college, York College, that I could work there on the lawns and tennis courts and earn enough money to pay my tuition and books and go to summer school. So I went to summer school, which my father didn't like very much, but I did it.
So you'd had Latin in high school and really enjoyed it?
Yes, my Latin in high school I passed on condition my first year, and I asked the principal if I could have one of the old Latin books, and I tore the back end out of it. I stuck it in my pocket, and every chance I got while I was working in the field, every time it's time to rest the teeth, start studying it. So the second year it came easy.
So you went then to school that summer and then stayed at that college?
No, it didn't work out that way. I went to summer school. No, I didn't go to summer school that first summer. I stayed home the first summer and had another sunstroke. I'd had 2 before that. I had my 3rd one that summer. And then I decided that I was going to go to summer school, pass my normal requirements and teach school.
That required 2 years of college for a normal certificate?
Didn't require that much credit. It just required that you pass the exams.
Oh.
You could teach school as soon as you got out of the 8th grade in Nebraska in those days, as long as you could pass the examinations normal.
So did you pass those then?
Finally passed them, yes, during the summer that I went to summer school full time. Then my father talked me into coming home. He said, I'm getting old. I can't work like I used to. You're young and strong. You come home and be my hands and legs and do the work, and I'll do the thinking, and we'll go partnership. So we sat there on a Friday night and worked out the details. I wasn't too much interested, but I listened and I agreed. And the next day at noon, I blew my hand off.
How did that happen?
The dynamite cap had been left in a charge of dynamite that the road crew had used to blow the trees out of the road ditch. Had a great row of cottonwood trees, and they were blowing those stumps out, and they left dynamite cap. And I picked it up, electric cap, picked it up, got it up about to my face, and it blew up.
They take you to the hospital?
Yes, they took me to the hospital. It was 10 miles to the hospital. They took me to the hospital. To tell you the difference between hospitals then and hospitals now, they had a bill of something over $1,000 for taking care of that thing. And my father said, I'll give you $150, you take it or you get nothing. They took it.
$1,000 back then. That was a fortune.
Yeah, it was an awful lot of money, but the two doctors who worked on me were well known for things like that. My brother had a pair of twins born, and the doctor didn't even get there in time. Instead of charging them for one delivery, charged them for two.
Some doctors haven't changed a whole lot, have they? That way. Well, did that affect your farming then with your dad?
Well, someone got to him and told him that maybe I'd better go to school and learn a different trade. And so he brought me as a gift the second day I was in the hospital. First day after I'd been operated on, after they'd sewn this back together. He came in and gave me a receipt for my tuition to school that fall at the college. And had made arrangements with a cousin of his or a cousin of my mother's rather, to live with her while I went to school. So they started me off that fall in college.
Was that the one you had gone to?
That's the one I'd gone to.
What was the name of that one?
York College.
York College.
And I went there one semester. My father died on Thanksgiving, or the day after Thanksgiving that same year. And I was foolish enough to think that I had to be the man of the house, come home and take care of my mother, my two sisters, and my sister's family of 4. So I did come back to the farm.
It's almost like you wonder if he knew he was going to die or something, or he was talking with you about taking over the farm and he was getting old.
Well, Father didn't have good health. I had a strange feeling myself when I got to be the same age that he was when he died. I probably would too. And I very nearly did. But it was was 63, my grandfather was 64. And I just figured, well, if I get past 63, why, my dad was a better man than I was by far. I have no right to live.
So how was life back when you came back home then?
Life was pretty good. Life, I knew most of the things to do. I did them. The days were long, lots of work, where our crops burned up and there wasn't anything. But I knew how to scrape and get hay for the cattle that we had left, and knew how to get the milk and get it to town. I could scratch that 120 acres as hard as I could to feed the cattle so that we could get enough cream to buy the feed to feed the chickens so that the eggs could buy the groceries.
You worked hard.
I thought it was awfully fortunate that my father had passed away, because in the aftermath of the stock market crash, everything went to pieces out there. And we sold his purebred shorthorn cattle for $10 a head. The registered cattle.
Well, it's not going now again. And we were talking, Jim, about you were back home and helping out on the farm there. So how long did you stay there back on the farm?
I stayed back until I was, till the fall after I was 20 years old. When I was 20 years old, I broke my leg. Broke my leg just about corn harvest time. Spent 5 weeks in the, flat on my back. And then couldn't get anybody to pick corn, so I put a pair of heavy boots on and went and picked the corn myself. And then shortly after that, my mother sold my horse that I had grown up with. And without saying anything to me about it, and I got mad and I left home. And I spent a summer just working here and there for food, clothes, and back, I was back in the heart of the Depression when we weren't raising any crops either, so it wasn't any great hardship on anybody to have me gone, except I was one less mouth to feed. And then that fall, my sister asked me to go to Washington with her, and I spent a year up in Washington State working in the orchards.
Down work out there then.
Then came back to Nebraska, and the next spring got married, got a job in Lincoln, Nebraska. Then when harvest time came along, my brother had bought one of those newfangled things they called a combine, and he wanted me to come run it for him. I came and ran the combine through the harvest time and plowed for him. Then my brother-in-law decided that he wanted to sell out and go to Oregon. And I took my wages and bought him out and spent about 4 years on the farm. Then thought I had a call to the ministry and sold that out. Went to the, started going to school again and studied for the ministry.
We haven't talked about religion any, Jim. Can you kind of tell me how that developed over the years for you?
On my 14th birthday, I went to a revival meeting in our little church. I learned that the Lord loved me, unlovely as I was. It broke my heart, and I gave my heart to Christ. Though I've left him lots of times, he never left me. once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Have good experience once in a while. Once in a while I backslide. But
how about your call? How did that come to you, Jim?
it was a strange call. We just had a minister that was an insurance salesman. And he preached for an hour and a half on the petty things that didn't amount to anything and leave the weightier things go. And I got the feeling that that was all the ministry that country folks seemed to be able to get, was the ministry of people who talked about when they were pastor of First Church in Des Moines, Iowa, or else talked about how they were struggling to become students and get through college. And I decided that they deserved better than that. I was going to find out for myself what it was that Jesus said to his disciples, what the call was, bring it to the people that lived in the country. That was what I felt was my calling, to be a rural pastor.
And you were married at that point?
I was married when I answered the call.
Yeah. Tell me about your dating and how you met your first wife, Jim.
Well, dating was kind of funny because I had a sister 9 years older than I was who was unmarried. She had lots of girlfriends, and I used to go along to chaperone the crowd, and I usually was paired off with one of those older girls. And that is, my sister could get the car, providing she had me along.
You were part of the package.
I was part of the package. So from the time I was about 12 years old, I was going on dates with her. And
any serious dating before you met your wife?
I did have some serious dating. Our Sunday school superintendent came to me and told me that his girl was running with a wild bunch and he'd sure appreciate it if I'd date her and kind of help her get straightened out. I did my best. But the spring before I had my hand blown off, she got pregnant by someone else, and she got married. So I had three pretty interesting things happen my 18th year. I lost my hand. My girlfriend married somebody else. The girl that I just knew that I would marry someday, and I wasn't ready for marriage or anything like that, but I knew that someday we'd be married. And but I wasn't too much interested in going with the girls. My father had so ingrained it into me that dating was in preparation for getting married, that I wasn't much interested in just dating for dating's sake.
How old were you when you met your first wife then, Jim?
I was in college, I was 18 years old when I met my first wife. I wasn't interested in going with her. She was sister to a boy I met in college. She was a pretty little thing. I think she was about a sophomore in high school then. And I'd go to his place, and we'd play baseball on Sunday afternoon, things like that, but
no dating.
No dating.
So But you began to get interested in her, apparently.
Yes, I began to get interested in her. I think more because she was interested in me than my own interest in her. I wasn't a very good husband. I wasn't ready to get married when I did get married.
How old were you, Jim, when you
22.
married? 22.
But, and Dale were both born on the farm.
Oh.
A mile and a half south of Bradshaw, Nebraska.
Well, it's been a big decision to have pulled up and gone back to seminary then with 2 children. And
well, everything just worked out. I think life has always been made so easy for me. I think maybe that's the way the Lord wanted it. I think He called me into the ministry. I think He called me out of the ministry.
What seminary did you go to?
I went to what was called Bonebrake Seminary then, but when I went to it, but when I graduated from it, United Seminary.
Now, where's that at?
That's at Dayton, Ohio. Now, you wanted to talk about my religious experience. It started very, very young. I learned to read before I went to school. My mother would get the big family Bible now, and I'd look at the pictures and ask her what this word said and what that word said, and before long I was reading. And I could go to Sunday school and read the Sunday school lesson. I know they made a big to-do of it. We had 3 preachers stay at our house while they were holding a meeting out at the little church. They made quite a to-do out of the fact that I could read from the Bible and sing the songs. And wasn't any bigger than I was.
Oh. You started with religion then?
Really, I started with religion. But I was 14 years old before it hit me that God loved me in spite of it. Now.
Yeah, we're rolling now.
Rolling? Okay, let's turn it back on then. So how long were you at seminary?
Well, I was several years at seminary, about 7.
7.
I was slow getting through college, getting through seminary. See, after I decided to go into the ministry, of course, that was suspect because everybody thought I was draft dodging. It was just at the time when we were being conscripted.
For World War II?
For World War II. And I sold out my farm, sold my cattle, my horses, my machinery, and took that little bit of money and rented an apartment in York, Nebraska, started to college, got a job, got my first paper out, got a job working in a meat market on weekends. And I kept begging for a church and begging for a church, and finally the superintendent gave me a church 65 miles from town. So I had to buy a car, and I found one, bought it, I paid $375 for it. Drove it down, and I was to preach at those 2 churches for the collection. I got down there, I found out they hadn't wanted a preacher. I guess it's because I was the nearest thing to no preacher that you could find. I got down there, and they had said that they didn't want a preacher because they couldn't afford to pay a preacher to put a new roof on the church at the same time. Well, they still hadn't put the roof on the church, so I went down there and preached to them, and pretty soon we put the roof on the church. And I had some very interesting experiences down there. I had an old Baptist gentleman teach me all about preaching. Of course, when I started out, I took the Sower and another religious magazine, and I got the very best sermons that Moody and those fellows had ever preached, and I preached them with little effect. And about the third Sunday, this old gentleman always sat up there on the front row and slept. And I asked him if he wanted to ride home, and he said, yeah. So I took him home, and on the way home he said, preacher, I can read those sermons anytime I want to. He says, why don't you preach what you know? So it gave me a whole new insight into the ministry. And I began looking for things that I knew to preach. And surprisingly, the ministry became tremendously effective.
People began to listen to you then.
I have never had trouble holding an audience. And though I started usually in churches that had 7, 8, 10 people in attendance, before I'd leave, the churches would be relatively full.
These were all EUB churches?
Well, they were United Brethren in Christ when I started. I was into it for about 6 years before it became EUB.
I see. That was a merger with another...
A merger with the Evangelical Church. And so the first year and a half I spent at Angus, Nebraska. When I moved from Angus, Nebraska to Strang, Nebraska, the treasurer of the church came walking across as I was unloading the furniture from the truck. And he said, please don't put your furniture in this house. We can't afford a preacher. And I said, well, the Lord said I was to come. I was assigned by the conference. I can't do anything but come. You'll have to take that up with the conference superintendent. So he was a little unhappy with me, but he let me stay. And I was so naive at that point. One day a fellow came and gave me a key to a locker in Geneva, the county seat. He said, here's the key to the frozen food locker. I didn't have anything put in it. I had already sent the children to live with their grandmother, my mother, and sent Evangeline to live in the dormitory at York, go to college. And I dropped out of college that year to get that church on its feet. And so I taught school and pumped gas and preached that year.
Did you ever look in that frozen food locker?
Yes, I was in Geneva by chance to see someone who was in the hospital there, and as I came out of the hospital, the man who ran the frozen food locker said, man, you haven't been up there to get anything out of that frozen food locker yet. I can't put anything more in it.
Another lesson in the ministry.
Another lesson in the ministry. And so we ate well. And as far as clothes were concerned, folks over in Ohio sent us a box of clothing, and in it was a suit that fit me, a preaching suit, a black one.
Wow. Evangeline was going to college about the same time that you were in
she went to
seminary.
college.
Uh-huh.
She didn't stop going to college. She went right straight through.
How did you like being a father to Jeanette and Dale back there? What kind of memories do you have?
Oh, good memories. Dale and I went fishing a lot. Jeanette was a pretty little thing in frills and well liked by everybody. The children were always well liked everywhere we went.
How long did they stay with your mother?
Just that year. Just that year. I couldn't hold both the churches. I got off to a bad start there. I took the school at Martland because the teacher there had a nervous breakdown. And I learned that one of the members of my church in Martland had wanted to teach the school herself, and by my applying, she lost the chance to. She was terribly upset about it, so she started a few stories about things that went on that didn't go on. And that's another strange story. Unaware of the fact, only aware that they weren't paying me any money, that they had stopped paying me money. I was still preaching there. And one Sunday morning I had the urge to preach on who is my father and my mother, my sister and my brother. Who is my mother and my sister and brother. And I started laying the background for it, and she stormed out of the church. I had no reason why she had stormed out of it, why she would storm out of the church. You know, the background of it, the reason that his mother and brothers and sister got anxious about him and came down from Nazareth to find him was that people were saying all these terrible things about him. That he was crazy, that he was eating with sinners, that he was doing all these terrible things. And that hit home some reason or other. She never heard the sermon, but she heard the background, and she stormed out of the church. And a couple days later, the treasurer came to me and paid me up in a lump sum, which helped pay the next year's college. And I got a job teaching as principal of a school close to York, Nebraska the next year. And the superintendent sent me back to Strang on one Sunday and out to Elba on the next. One Sunday I drove 35 miles to preach to the church at Strang. The next Sunday I caught the train and went 85 miles out northwest of York to preach at a little church called Elba.
And teaching in between.
And taught in between. And took 6 hours of college work.
All at the same time?
At the same time. So I had a busy year.
Really good.
Then when spring came, they changed the conference time from fall to spring, and which made that only a 9-month year for the conference. And the superintendent said, well, I've got something for you. It's a special job. It'll give you a chance to get the Greek that you wanted. I want to send you to Vermilion, South Dakota. You can go to the University of South Dakota and get your Greek, a continuation of Greek. I'd gone as far as I could at York. And he said, I'll give you $100 a month, and you go up there and survey those 2 churches and see if the last 2 pastors we've had up there are right, that those 2 churches should be closed. So I went. And I was up there 3 years. Got my next 2 years of college in. Graduated in 1947. Picked the 2 children up and went on to seminary. And Van had 1 semester to finish to get her degree. She stayed at Vermilion till she had finished her degree. So that kind of takes care of that part of the religious aspect of it.
Then you went on to seminary back to Dayton?
I went to Dayton in January of 47.
So you had to finish your college work first before you went to seminary, even back then?
Back then, yes.
How long did you take in going through seminary then, Jim?
Well, I finished seminary after I went to preaching in Roanoke in 55.
So you were preaching and had to have jobs too at the same time and go to school.
And all my life, I had rammed around the country, never been out of work very long, except for 2 days when I was out in Utah. And I couldn't get work there at all, because I was not Mormon. Mormons were taking care of their own those days. And I got to seminary. I lived there, and lived in the dorm. I tried to get a church, no church. I tried to get a job pumping gas, no pumping gas. Tried to get a factory job, no factory job. Tried to get a job in the hospital as an aide, no job. Couldn't get work. So the conference superintendent said, well, why don't you go back to Vermilion and finish out the summer there? And then you can all come back in the fall, and they'll have a church for you. So I did that. As soon as I got back, as soon as I got over there, I found out why. I couldn't get a job.
What was that?
There was an old gentleman there that had a sudden Christian experience while I was ministering there. And he'd gotten the smallpox, or the chicken pox, and he was on his deathbed. And his family had gathered in the kitchen every morning and prayed that Brother Tracy would come back before the old man died. I got back there, I visited him on a Friday. He died on a Wednesday.
He was ready to die then.
But they had prayed diligently from the time I left until I got back. He wouldn't die. Until I got back.
And he didn't.
And I've often said it's uncanny, but that is, prayer is a powerful thing. We need to be careful how we use it.
So all of you went back together then in the fall?
Then in the fall we all went back together, and I went to seminary pretty much steadily, but ran into trouble on writing my thesis. I got through seminary in 3 years, but I wrote my thesis outline, gave it to my professor. He took it home with him. He died. Nobody knows. My family never moved with me. That is, the children did. My wife never moved with me.
So she stayed in Ohio?
Stayed in Ohio.
So you were pastor of a EUB church in Roanoke? Your first? And when did you meet the Tracy clan then? Was that when you were in Roanoke?
The Tracy?
Excuse me, the DeVilbiss clan.
In Roanoke.
In Roanoke, yeah. Were they going to the church there? Your church?
No, part of them were. Roy DeVilbiss were going to the church there.
Oh. Uh-huh.
No, they belonged to the church in Jennings.
I see.
And, but Alton's name was on the roll at Roanoke. And I heard that Alton was in the hospital in Lafayette. And I went down to visit him. And I went to the hospital to visit him. And then I thought, well, while I'm in Lafayette, I'll look up Orpha. Her name is on the books too. So I went to the Millers and asked for Orpha Miller. And Uncle Eddie says, "Hey, Jimmy, somebody wants to see you."
And that's Orpha. Okay.
And of course, little Ginger was there with Chicky. And of course, she had to put Chicky on the new preacher's lap, and Chicky baptized him. And meanwhile, Ginger had gone to see Alton at the hospital, so I didn't meet her then. But I met the rest of the, I believe all of them, there at Miller's in Lafayette.
So you met the children before you did?
I met Alton first.
You did meet Alton in the hospital?
I met Alton in the hospital.
Was he pretty sick at that point?
He was terribly sick. And the strangest thing, while I walked into the hospital room, he was in a ward. Nobody had to tell me which one was Alton. He felt just like my brother. Just like. And we talked for a little while and had a word of prayer, and I went away and went on my business and hunted up Orpha. Well, then I went back to Roanoke. A couple of weeks I went back down to see Alton again. That time he asked me, "As long as you're pastor at Roanoke, will you look in on my wife and family?" He knew he was going to die. He said there was a verse of scripture, he didn't know where it could be found, but he wanted it. And it turned out to be 1 Peter, I believe it was 1 Peter 5. "Humble thyself, therefore, beneath the mighty hand of God, that in due time he may exalt you, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you." We found it. Shared it, wept a little bit. Then I visited him once after he came home. Next I had his funeral.
So you buried him too?
The next time that was the first time that I saw Ginger was when I visited them in their home. However, Leo was the first person in Jennings that I ever talked to. I was on my way to a conference, and as I crossed the street there, a car came coming fast, hit me in the rear corner, and demolished my automobile and threw me out of the car and dragged me across the street. And a kid came riding up there on a bicycle, and I said, "I'll give you a quarter if you go up and tell the conference superintendent at the church that I won't be there for a little while.
And Leo was the kid.
And Leo was the kid.
You've got all kinds of strange connections with this clan then, haven't you?
Do have.
What was your impression of Ginger when you first met her in the home?
Well, I suppose more pity than anything else, really. She was nursing Chicky, and she was trying to cheer Chick up. And he was in bed at home.
Mm-hmm.
He died shortly after that. We had the funeral. And I tried to keep my vow to him to look in on the family at least once a week and see that they were getting along, and they did. They got along fine. They didn't need my help.
You began to feel part of the family, though, at some point.
Yes, but not until after I had all the props knocked out from under myself.
With your marriage.
I went to conference in June up in Missouri. Received my ordination on a Sunday, came back, and on a Wednesday the sheriff knocked on my door and handed me a divorce proceedings papers from Ohio. And, I didn't go. By Christmas time, the conference superintendent said that I should resign the church for the good of the church. I resigned the church.
That was a law back then in the church.
Oh, well, that was the law in the United Brethren Church, no question.
So you had to leave the church in Roanoke then, the end of that year.
So I'd lost all that I'd prepared for. Had to hunt work elsewhere.
That must have been a real blow to you.
It was a real blow to me.
What did you end up planning to do?
I began to make piping drawings for Bechtel Corporation in Beaumont.
And you still kept up seeing the DeVilbiss family during that time?
Well, not as often, but quite often. I had thoughts of teaching school, and I'd come back down to, in the summertime, I'd come back down to Jennings and talked with the superintendent. He told me I could teach mathematics at Clinton. And I took Ginger along over to ride over and see what the school was like. And somehow or other, I don't know, all at once I fell head over heels in love with her, and I've been in love with her ever since.
It was on that car ride that did it.
Yeah.
So you all married, and then they moved over to Beaumont with you?
What part of it did? The story that my folks got up in Nebraska was probably true. That I'd married that family and broke them all up. See, See, because we did get married about the same time that Pat and CL got married, and Pat and CL took care of the kids while Pat graduated. Pat took care of the kids while some of the kids while she was graduating from high school, and Ginger and some of the kids came over with me and to Beaumont. And we were split up for a little while. Of course, Leo had gone to service.
So some of the kids stayed with Pat then?
Here on the 4th or the 3rd of July in 1956.
Got a lot of changes in that year, 55, 56.
Started that long grind of working in the chemical plants.
You didn't stay with that drafting job?
I made up my, well, I stayed with that drafting job till it finished. See, that drafting job was in '55 when I got it. Then I went to J.P. O'Donnell to another outfit. I was working as superintendent of, or assistant superintendent of construction for Caruth Dishman Corporation when Ginger and I married. And I left there to work in Lake Charles. We lived in Jennings. First 7 months that we were married. And then it was that spring that we moved to Beaumont.
Oh, I see.
And Ginger stayed with Pat. I think Rita stayed with Pat too. Maybe Tommy.
But y'all all got together then that summer?
And then that summer we got together.
Well, what was it like for you being suddenly newly married and having a family of, whatever, 9 children?
I made up my mind that in this order, I'd be the best husband that Ginger could have, the best father that the children could have, and the best draftsman the Gulf Coast. And I tried it, but I don't think I succeeded in any of it, really.
Pretty tall order there. And all the children were home except Leo had gone into service and Pat had just married. So Tommy was still at home and all the others.
Tommy, Ginger. Ginger started college and got married. Incidentally, that was an interesting thing I was thinking about here a while back. Leo was talking about what terrible shape he was in financially. We had an awful time scraping up the $900 that it cost to get Ginger married. Had to borrow it on my life insurance.
Is that right?
Finally.
I had no idea.
Had no idea we were that poor, huh? Well, I bought that house, and I was committed for too much. Nobody would loan me any money.
Wow.
And he's committed to a house. He can't get any money.
How long did you stay in Beaumont? You went to Denver then?
We went to
So,
Denver the
and-
summer of '66. Another kind of foolish thing on my part. I just said, hey, these kids have never seen anything except the salt flats between here and the Gulf. Take them up and let them see what a mountain looks like. I quit my job and took a job with Stearns Rogers on contract for 3 months. We moved to Denver for 3 months. Fully intending to come back to Beaumont and finish it all out. I really wanted to retire at that place we bought on Roberts Avenue. It was a nice location. Handy to the grocery stores. But drafting in Beaumont was feast and famine. I worked most of the time, but I also had to work as a clerk in a drugstore and as a mechanic for International Harvester when I couldn't get drafting work.
Did you miss the ministry, Jim?
Yes, I missed the ministry terribly. It's quite an ego trip to be able to get up in front of a group of people and to claim their attention for a time.
So you ended up going to Denver then for 3 months. You must have liked it. You must have liked it there. You stayed
Not
longer.
that much. You see, what happened was that in '68 then I ran out of work. And Stearns had work. So I had to do something, and they were willing to move me, and so I took them up on the offer. I had really intended to go to, I had tentatively taken a job in Groton, Connecticut. But that didn't work out. Well, John Howard didn't want to go. So I turned him down. We stayed there till John graduated from high school. I worked where I could, when I could get work.
In Denver?
No, in Beaumont. Until work just plain ran out. Yeah, all the engineering in Beaumont was being done from Houston.
So you stayed in Denver just 3 months, and you went back to Beaumont?
And worked there until it went dry.
I see. Okay.
And then went to...
Then you moved back to Denver permanently?
Then I moved back to Denver. I think it was in February of '68.
After Howard graduated? So you went back just with the girls to Denver?
Just the girls to Denver. We didn't take Debbie. Debbie stayed behind with Korea.
Had she graduated from high school then?
No. No, she wanted to graduate from high school.
She was a junior, senior then?
She was senior.
Senior. So Dee Dee on down.
Then she came and worked up there the next summer. She came up with us summer of '88 and worked. No, I guess she was junior. And then came back. I really don't know. I really can't remember. See, I wasn't such a good dad after all.
You had a lot of kids to keep up with. But how did you like Denver when you went there to stay?
Denver was fine. We lived out in the outskirts, good bus service most of the time. Unless I had to work overtime, and then I couldn't. I had to drive a car then. I had lots of interesting jobs. Of course, for 2 months they sent me up to northern part of British Columbia. That wasn't a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Not for me.
So how long did you stay in Denver then, Jim?
We were in Denver from January or February of '68 until January in '74. In January '74, I took church in Kansas, served it for 1 year, and went back to Denver and stayed there till '75. No, must have been '73. I went
To the church.
to the church.
How was that year at the church for you?
Not too good. Not too good. Maybe you've read the story in the Old Testament about the priest that got to be the priest of one family.
I don't remember it.
You don't remember it.
No.
It seldom works out, you know. It happened that what we had was not a church, but a monument to a man. And his family was the congregation, and any outsiders they looked on with scorn.
And by this time, the EUB had gone with the Methodists, so that there was no.
This wasn't the Methodist church
was not
at
a
all.
Methodist.
No, this was the old Constitution Methodist, or United Brethren in Christ Old Constitution.
But they accepted you with second marriage. That was okay.
Yes. In fact, they had several remarried pastors.
Did you go back with the idea of staying in the pastorate for some years?
I had hoped to.
Yeah.
I went because I felt it was the thing to do. I left because I felt it was the thing to do. So I have no regrets of either going or of leaving.
How did Ginger like that year in the church?
You'll have to ask her about that. She won't even tell me.
Okay.
That's where she got interested in quilting, though.
Yeah.
So she got something out of it, if she'll be honest with you.
So you went back to Stearns Rogers then?
Back to Stearns Rogers. Stayed there. I didn't stay there very long. I got an opportunity to be a plant engineer for a pipe manufacturing plant on a 6-month trial basis. I decided I didn't like that after 6 months. So then I went with Beck and Associates. I didn't like that.
That's in Denver, didn't you?
I retired in Denver in '75. We took that long trip back here and on up into Connecticut. Meanwhile, Dale had written to me and told me I was too young to retire to come down there and help him get a sawmill started. So we went down, lived in his house for a year, and then bought a house, moved it onto that acreage. Been there ever since.
How's your life there been for you, Jim, since you retired?
For me, it's been good. Had a few scares, but...
What kind?
Well, I nearly burned the place down once.
Is that right?
Fire came in from outside, burned up a few stacks of lumber that I had, fought fire as hard as I could until I couldn't, and then would sit down and then fight fire again.
I don't remember that.
Finally, after got through, the neighbors came and helped me finish pushing it out after I got the worst of it out. And I couldn't, it just so happened that Judy's were gone, or Judy and Dale were gone. I was there alone. Ginger was working. I couldn't get a hold of her. I couldn't get a hold of Judy. I couldn't get, I called the police department. They said call the fire tower. I couldn't find the fire tower. And by that time the fire was going again. I had to get back out there and throw some more water on it.
That was scary.
It was scary. I thought everything was gone. Yeah. And really, at the end, I said, I don't care if it does.
Was that before you built your own house?
No, that was after.
After it, so you could have lost it too?
That's one reason that those board decks came down. Though they were rotten, they could have been shored up and kept for a while, but leaves blow up under it, boy, you know, that would be ideal to come right on in and have a good fire.
Yeah.
No, but that I think was probably the trigger for my heart attack, because it was just about a month later that I couldn't watch a ball game. I couldn't, on a Saturday, I just couldn't get comfortable anywhere. I finally went out to where Mary and Ginger were cleaning fish. I said, I think you're going to have to take me to the doctor. I just don't feel good. They rushed me in and put me in intensive care.
You were pretty sick for a while.
Treated me for a heart attack. I got cranky and cantankerous. Got up and got to going again.
What year was that? I have to remember.
Don't try to ask me that.
About 3 years ago? Was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago, last spring.
Okay,
2 years ago.
It's 81 then.
I think the worst blow was the fact that my nephew had a heart attack and died of it about that time.
That was a hard time with that death and the fire and all. Well, how would you like to be remembered, Jim, by the family and friends?
No memory.
No memories.
No memory.
You don't have a choice about that.
I'll tell you what. It was summed up in the title of the movie last night. Be there.
Being there.
Just being there. Because that's all I ever was just being there.
Do you have any message for people in the future that might listen to this?
Yes, I do have a message for them. I've noticed that in the years that I've been alive that there have been some tremendous changes. And that in the last 10 years there have been some tremendous changes, even more than in the first part. And the world you live in is not the world I grew up in. And it's so much different that only you can choose which path to go. But find somebody or something that needs doing and do it. And don't worry about the pay. You'll get it.
That's a good word to end on. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate your doing this for us.
I think there's one other thing I'd like to say. When I was 14, I gave my heart to the Lord, but it wasn't until I was about 21 that I began to understand what it meant. And then I began to understand that if I gave my heart to the Lord, I belong to Him. If I belong to Him, then everything I have belongs to Him. Therefore, if I lose something that He's entrusted to me, that's sad. But if He sees fit to have someone take away something that He's entrusted to me, perhaps His other child needed it more than I did. So there have been no locks on our doors. Nothing is protected. I do not believe in insurance. I think the Lord can take care of His own. And I don't think there ever ought to be a lock on the church. Because when I was going through that divorce action, I wanted to go to the Church of the Open Door and pray, and it had 3 padlocks on it. I think it would be a good idea if people would give their gift to God, untie the strings from it, let them build the church, forget the vandals. Because some vandals sometimes turn out to be pretty powerful preachers, like Paul, and like the young man that wrote The Sword and the Switchblade. And they'd never been there if they hadn't been vandals before. And I just don't ever take anything away from God's people. And His people are more places than you can imagine.
Okay, I'm rolling. Okay.
Okay, this is Sunday, June the 26th, 1983. We're sitting here in Annandale, Virginia. I'm Bill Ratliff. I guess we'll call her Ginger, and you're Virginia?
Right.
Get this separated. I'm Ginger's husband, and this is Ivis Welch, Becky's husband, that's on the camera. I'm really glad you're doing this today with us, Mom. I've wanted to for a long time. You're up here for the reunion next weekend, so this is a good time to do it.
Good time to get it on tape.
Yeah. I'd like to start reminiscing by going back to your early childhood of when and where you were born, Granny.
Gee, I was born in Scott, Louisiana in September of 1918. I had an older brother and an older sister. And I got my middle name, Liberty Born, from the priest who baptized me, November the 11th, 1918.
Oh.
Ruth, Virginia, Liberty Born Dobank. Full name. We lived in Scott until I was about 5 years old. And Daddy got a better job in managing a store that Mr. Judice had bought from a man there, so he had a branch store. Daddy was to be manager. We had a house furnished to live in. It was heartbreaking for the older ones because they didn't want to leave school. They didn't want to leave their friends. I was at home with Mama, it didn't matter.
How many children were there in your family?
2. I was the third.
The third. You were
Just
the baby
3.
then.
I was the baby.
I see.
Yes.
What was the difference in the children's ages, more or
My
less?
sister is now 70. She's 5 years older than I am, 5.5 is the term. And my brother was 3 years older than I am. But he died when he was just a young man. We moved to Tucson, and that's where I started the school. I can always remember that first day of school. Mama brought me in and told the teacher who I was and told me to sit down, and then she turned around and left, and I can still see her back.
Oh.
I was well known by the teachers, and it was a small, friendly school. There wasn't anything to be afraid of, just Mama was gone.
Yeah, that was a big step.
Big one, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your parents and their background.
Mama was the oldest of 8 children. And she and my grandmother were very close. She must have been pretty young when Mama was born. Because they were more like sisters than they were mother and daughter. In fact, Grandma's youngest child, Lucille, came to live with us, and she was like one of Mama's children, the oldest daughter. So she took care of us when we were growing up. Grandpa had a cotton farm east of Scott, and it was just far enough that he could get up in the morning and walk to town and get a loaf of bread and a dime's worth of meat and walk back in time to go to work on his farm. And he always walked on the railroad.
On the railroad.
And he was of Indian descent. He used to go along the railroad and he knew the different plants. He knew the different remedies for them. And he used to bring artichokes, ground artichokes. He called them tompinobo. They were, see them now, they're sunchokes on the market. But Grandma used to cook that with brown gravy, and it was so good. She had been orphaned. Her parents both died years before, and some old French people raised her. And they must have been very protective of her, because she was so very protective of her children, who in turn were very protective of theirs. And Ginger and I were talking about her a while ago. When I was threading the needle, Ginger took it away from me. She said, "Here, let me do that for you." I said, "Well, I'm glad I used to thread Grandma's needles when the shower vision was going, because I need it now." She says, "Well, it's time."
Is that where the Cajun background comes
the Cajun
from?
background comes, well, of course, everyone's for French. You didn't have to be Cajun to speak French, because this is what you grew up with. The Knight, Grandpa Knight came from Mississippi as a young man. He left his parents there, and from the stories we hear, he was very prominent and had land in Mississippi that they never bothered to go and see about heirs. He used to say that his grandmother, one of his grandmothers, was an Indian. So that the high cheekbones came from that, probably. And he was so kind and patient with all of us. Handsome old man, too. And Grandpa Domang, he starved Domang.
That's your father's?
That's my dad's.
Domang.
He came from Spain with his brother. When they must have been teenagers. I can just picture them. Two young kids from Spain coming across on a ship, landing in New Orleans, and then taking off southern part of Louisiana. And that's where the Cajun part comes from. He married Cora Saunier, who was of French heritage. Her people had come down the Mississippi River to settle that part of the country. And they had 9 children, I believe. Daddy had he had one brother who was just something like 13 or 14 months younger than him. They looked different. Uncle Adolph was short, dark complected. He looked like a Spaniard, and Daddy was tall and blonde and had the blue eyes. Of the family, I'm the only one had the blue eyes, the first 3. 2 of my brother and sister had dark brown eyes.
Where did your father come in the line of children?
He was number 5.
About the middle.
Just about the middle. And he used to tell how he went to school in Scott, about 4 miles away. They were west of Scott. And they had to ride horseback. And the school was taught by French teachers. The reading and writing was all French. And he went to 4th grade, I think, either 3rd or 4th grade. And then it was time to start making a living, and he went to Mr. Leo Judis. That's where I got Leo's name. Leo Judis hired him to help in the store, stocking and all. And Mrs. Judis was a lady from Richmond, Virginia, who had married this man and gone down south, down to Louisiana to live, had no children. So she took Ike by the hand. His nickname was Ike. And every afternoon she'd come over from her house and sit in the back in the warehouse and teach him to read English rather than French. He knew the letters. And she taught him how to put money in the cash register, a great big tall thing with all these buttons. And he said he was just tall enough to reach it. And he punched it in and got the right change. He was really proud of that. To his dying day, he remembered that. And it used to be that every Christmas they went to visit the boss and Madame Judy's. Every Christmas morning we dressed up and we went to visit as long as they lived. Well, as long as I was at home anyway. They lived a little bit longer after that.
How did your mother and father meet each other?
I never did know. Probably at a dance. Because there was a dance hall in Scott that every Saturday night people would come from all around and they probably met there. They were not far apart, but in those days that was 8 miles apart, was pretty far.
Yeah.
They got married and had Carita. I never did know for sure where Carita's name came from. Well, she said Mama told her she'd read it in a book somewhere. I don't know how much schooling my mother had. But she did read before she died. I was 10 when she died.
10?
Well, not quite 10. And then her sister, Aunt Elaine, came to live with us. She had 2 girls and a husband who was a carpenter. And she had a little hat shop in Scott. She had her own business. She gave that up to come and take care of the children. But Daddy remarried before the year was up, so then she was back on her own without a business.
Let's back up a little bit. I'm wondering when your memories first start. Was it before age 5 when you moved to Scott? Do you remember anything?
When I moved to Doosan.
To Doosan?
Oh yes, I remember Scott.
Do you?
I remember playing in the bathtub, soap in my hands. And my cousin came to visit, Cecil Hutchinson. Had long baby doll curls, and he and I locked ourselves in the bathroom to play barbershop. And when his mother and my mother found us, half of my curls were gone. And once we were going to a play across the street at the school. I was ready, I was dressed. My brother was dressed and ready. And Mama said, stay clean. So we went to the front gate, and he was swinging on the gate, and Daddy said, stop that. About that time, I got my finger in the gate, and it closed. And it hurt so. I said, I didn't know wood could cut. That's what I remember about Scott. And I don't remember much about the moving itself, you know.
Yeah. How did you like Doosan there when you went?
Oh, I liked it fine. Of course, I was right there with Mama. I hadn't started to school yet. And the store was so much larger, and it was Daddy's store. He was the boss.
Nice. Did you live over the store then?
No,
or
across the street.
across the street?
Just got a corner from the front door of the store. There was a sidewalk, a cement sidewalk across the front of the store, and we used to think we wanted roller skates. And of course it was all cracked. It was the only piece of cement in the whole city of Tucson. Little dirt roads, no lights, no city water. It was just a little bitty town.
It really was. So you went to school there then?
Yeah, I started school in Doosan. My sister and brother were both going to school there. We had to walk to school.
Was there more than one grade in the same room?
No, not in the upper levels. There was what they call the primary and the first, which we call kindergarten now. I went into primary, and since I knew my numbers and my letters and spoke a little English, many of the school children didn't even speak English. They came from French homes. And that was against the law, against the rules. No French speaking on the school ground at all. And poor little children were having a hard time being understood. So I went from primary to first grade the first few months. And Miss Henson she was the only one with 2 grades. And there were 7 grades in that elementary school. By the time you finished 7th grade, you graduated. And then you got to go to high school in Scott and ride a bus.
Ride a bus?
Ride a bus, yeah.
Did you like school after you got used to Mom leaving you there that first day?
Oh yeah. Teacher's pet.
Were you?
Oh yeah. I got along well with the classmate and Winter. Two of my classmates went to school all 12 years with me. And graduated. There's no stability like that anymore. You start first grade and finish.
Were you all good friends, these other two and you especially, or?
Not too close. Not too close. We always had other fish to fry, you know. We never got really close.
Yeah.
I'm sorry though now that we didn't, because our lives were very, very similar for the first 12 years in school.
How about high school? How did you like that?
Well, I liked it fine. The three of us went on to high school from Tucson. Others dropped out to stay home and work. And one of the boys that graduated with me was always the head of the class. He was very, very smart. In fact, he was valedictorian when I graduated in class. But there was a little bit of dislike there between the Scott students and the Tucson students. They didn't want us there. But